Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today's video is actually going to be a foundation and concealer wear test review, first impression. So I have the Estee Lauder Futurist Skin Tint Serum, and then I have the Futurist Soft Touch Brightening Concealer. So I thought I would just do a wear test with both of these. So that's what I'll be doing in today's video, talking a little bit about the details of both of these products, inserting in some swatches, and just seeing what I think of this product, because I usually really enjoy Estee Lauder as a complexion brand, so I'm excited to try both of these out. If you like foundation videos, if you like complexion videos, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I would love it if you stick around. But with all that, I'm gonna zoom you in and we're just gonna get started. All right, I don't really know what my hair is doing today. It's doing whatever it wants, but we're gonna start with the foundation. I think that just makes the most sense, and I'm really excited to try this. This released, I wanna say around holiday time last year, and I purchased it when Estee Lauder did a 40% off sale. So this does retail for $55 US, comes in 29 shades with your standard 1 fluid ounce. It does have SPF in it, SPF 20, and I believe it has the dropper, yes, which is not my favorite kind of applicator. However, I typically always really love foundations that have the dropper for some reason. They always just go really well with my skin. Now, as far as my skin type, I do have normal, leaning dry skin, but pretty normal. I don't break out too much. I mean, I have a blemish kind of remaining here, but for the most part, I would say I'm pretty normal. And as far as my preferences on a foundation, I do prefer like a more natural, maybe leaning matte foundation, but mostly I care about wear down time. That's why I love doing wear tests, because that's the most important to me. If it looks a little bit glowy, but it wears fine throughout the day, I'm okay with that as long as I'm not looking like I just got out of a pool at the end of the day. And if it's a little bit matte, I don't mind that as long as it's not creasing and breaking up and just looking splotchy at the end of the day. So those are kind of my preferences. Now this does have oil in it. This is a oil foundation. So that's why I was a little bit, just intrigued about this, because I really like Estee Lauder foundations. Typically, I haven't tried the infamous Double Wear foundation, but I have tried the Double Wear Nude. I've tried the Double Wear Sheer, and both of those are like my top 2 foundations. I love both of those foundations. I really want to try the Hydra Rescue, but I haven't gotten around to that yet. And just excited to test this out. This does say that it's supposed to have light coverage with an ultra natural radiant finish. Ultra natural radiant, I'm not sure if they're trying to say natural radiant or what the ultra is supposed to mean. I thought that was a little bit odd, but we're gonna try this out. Since I'm doing concealer with this, I normally don't. I'm gonna just really make sure to try and avoid the concealer area. And I'm just not sure how I want to apply it yet, because online it does not say how to apply it. So I have my sponge and my brush, and maybe we'll just do both. So I'm just gonna drop a little bit on my hand. And I just got my typical shade in this, which is 2N1. I think maybe I'll start with the brush side, because I have a feeling that it's going to really soak in with a sponge. And I do usually prefer to wear a sponge, but if it is not a sponge foundation, that's okay. I didn't use that much, about half of what I applied on my hand here. I'm just gonna spread it out. It does have like a very botanical scent, which I expected. It does claim to have like natural ingredients. Here it is completely blended out with the brush. So like I said, light coverage. You can see still like my blemish here. It's definitely not covering it up at all. The shade's a good match for me. 2N1 typically is my shade. So I'm gonna just try it with my sponge just to see, but I think it's just gonna completely soak it up. And if I didn't say, I only applied my skincare. I didn't apply any SPF only because I didn't want it to affect my foundation. I really just want to see what this is going to do on its own. No primer, nothing like that. I just cleansed my face and put moisturizer on. That was it. And yeah, the sponge definitely soaks it up because I barely covered any of my cheeks. So if you want a little bit more coverage, brush is the way to go. I'm gonna have to apply a little bit more. Just gonna kind of cover my forehead here, try and avoid my under eyes. Have to let me know if you've tried the original Double Wear. It just seems like a little too full coverage for me. The Double Wear Nude was my favorite, but they discontinued that one, unfortunately. I do like the Double Wear Sheer, I already mentioned that, but that one is like it dries down to like a soft powder finish, and I know not everyone loves that. So I think I'm in the minority of liking that foundation. The sponge side looks less radiant. It definitely just soaked up the product. And it's not like, I think you can see more of the glow on this side, like especially, you know, just on the high points of my cheeks, whereas here you can't as much. I think I'm just gonna take the rest off of my hand and just kind of go over the rest of my face here. This is very much a light coverage. I'm glad we're off to a good start because sometimes when the claims don't match up, that's when we tend to go downhill really fast with a wear test. And I don't find this overly oily like the Kosas face oil, or there's even, I'm blanking on the name, there's the Maybelline Green Edition, which is an oil foundation. Both of those are very much like an oil foundation. If you tried them, you know what I mean. I'm not finding that with this. There's definitely oil, but it's not a typical oil foundation. I'll need to try it with some primers to see if it pills like a normal oil foundation would, but I think actually you might be able to get away with it. And this is it completely applied. It's not going to give the most. It's still, I mean, it did cover the blemish a little bit more. We might go in with the concealer and just see if it can kind of cover up a little bit more. And it's not too radiant. That was something I was a little bit worried about when it said ultra radiant. I would agree this is like a natural radiant. Still don't think that they need the ultra in there, but so far, so good. I'm liking it. Let's move on to the concealer. Now, I got the shade 1N, so a step down in the concealer. And this retails for $36, and it has the same 29 shades. And this is actually quite a large concealer. It has 0.2 grams of product, which is a decent size for concealer. And I really like the bottle. Like, it's very, very chic. 1N might be a little bit light. And then here is what the applicator looks like. They say that it's supposed to be like a finger touch application is what they're trying to mimic here. And let's just go in. This is supposed to give a soft, radiant finish. It does not talk about the type of coverage. I'm gonna start with one eye first, and I think we'll do a sponge and a brush just to see. So it doesn't talk about the type of coverage that it has, just that it's a soft radiant. And they really stress that this is a non-creasing, a non-caking formula, that it is sweat resistant, water resistant. So those are kind of the claims. As far as like my preferences for an under eye concealer, I don't have too many fine lines just yet. Even though I'm 34, for whatever reason, I'm getting it more like around my mouth and forehead rather than under my eyes. I'm not complaining, but for me, it's mostly darkness, and you can see just from one eye to the other. I would say it's a good medium. Normally I wear a color corrector. So for no color corrector, this is actually, I'm impressed with the coverage because I do like a higher coverage concealer, and it is very lightweight and it looks really nice, and the coverage is there. So this is the side with the sponge, and I think we're gonna apply the other side with a brush just to see the difference, because we all like to use different tools. Again, I'm just gonna go in with very little, kind of right there, and then blend that out with like a little concealer brush. I just find that even when I use a brush, I go over it with a sponge. So it's kind of like, why even bother? But typical to a brush, you're just gonna get a little bit more coverage. For me, it just takes a little bit longer to blend. But I am liking how this looks. Like, I think that you can see the coverage on camera. Sometimes the shadows with the way that the light is, you can't really see the coverage as well as I would like. And it's definitely self-setting, and even the foundation's a little bit sticky. I kind of wanted to see if it dried down before deciding if I was going to set it or not, but let's just see how this goes. And they go really well together because even though this concealer has coverage, it doesn't look like it's not going with the foundation. Sometimes when you have a high coverage concealer, it looks off with a light coverage foundation, and it doesn't look like that. It just looks like I actually maybe got a decent night's sleep. So far, so good. I do think I'm going to set both my face and my foundation. So I'm gonna go off camera. I'm gonna finish up the rest of my makeup, and then I'll be back to just talk about my first impression thoughts so far. So let me just finish that up. Rest of my makeup is on. So I did set both my under eyes and my face. I'll have everything that I'm wearing listed down in the description box below, but I really like how this looks. I just had a good feeling about this foundation, and I'm glad so far it has not steered me wrong. Even the concealer I'm impressed with, and I had no business buying either a foundation or a concealer, but I couldn't resist these. I did buy them 40% off. I recommend just signing up for Estee Lauder's newsletter as a side note because they do holiday sales often. I did not use a setting spray, and I only used powder products. I didn't use any cream products, just so I was not disturbing the foundation. So I was disturbing the foundation the least amount as possible. And I think it looks fantastic. It looks the perfect light, just teetering on medium. Like, it's the perfect amount of coverage that I want for every day. You can still see my skin, you know, like it's not fully covered up where it looks like I'm wearing a mask. I'm definitely wearing makeup though, and it just looks really natural. I tend to have like enlarged pores right here, and they look really blurred for not using a primer. I'm very impressed with how my pores look right now. Nothing is settling in my pores, in my wrinkle lines, like around my mouth, nothing whatsoever. It has only been, 5-10 minutes, so we'll have to see how this wears. But so far, like I'm very happy that I bit the bullet and picked this up, even though I'm swimming in foundations. So I am gonna go on with the rest of my day, I think, do some stuff around the house, and I'll be back in 4 hours, weather permitting, because it's sunny right now, but it's been pretty windy and rainy this entire winter, but these past couple of days especially. I'll just kind of keep an eye out for the weather. As long as it's sunny in 4 hours, I will go outside. If not, it might be more towards the 3-hour mark, and we'll just do a 5-hour check-in afterwards inside. But that's about it so far. Let me know, down below in the comments what you're thinking so far on this foundation, and I'll just see you in about 4 hours. All right, it's been almost 4 hours, but the sun is starting to set a little early today. It is freezing. I have my jacket on, but I am outside, and the foundation looks amazing for 4 hours. I am so pleased with it. My pores still look blurred. I don't look oily at all. I was looking in the mirror before this. I don't feel like I need to touch up. So far, so good. I mean, the last 4 hours are definitely going to be the most telling. I might wait 5 or so, just see how late I can get this. Aren't the trees are finally like starting to blossom? It looks so pretty. I just need the sun to match it. And then the concealer also looks really good. There's my dog back there. She's just sniffing around. I have no complaints. I like the coverage a lot. I appreciate that it's fuller coverage, but not too full coverage. And it goes with the foundation really well. Like, they're a match made in heaven, quite honestly. I think that this is a little bit lighter coverage than maybe some people prefer, but for me, this is just the perfect amount of coverage, and I'm really happy with how natural this looks, and it's keeping the oils at bay. Like, I could really not ask for more at this junction. So I'm gonna get my butt inside in the warm, kind of, and wait another 5 hours or so. I'll be inserting in some swatches right about now, and then I will see you in my final thoughts. It's the end of the night. It's been 9 hours now, and I have to say the foundation looks pretty much like I applied it, with the sole difference that like some of my oils have kind of come through. But for a skin tint with oil in it, it looks still really natural. Like, this after 9 hours I can deal with. Maybe if you're extremely oily, it won't work, but I am like teetering on the edge of even wanting or needing to blot down my face and touch up, and that's after 9 hours. So I have to say that I'm fairly impressed. As far as the concealer, I don't think the concealer's moved at all. In the future, I'll be trying this with a color corrector just to bump the coverage a little bit more and kind of cancel out the darkness. But I have zero creasing, zero anything really. I don't think. I'll try to kind of zoom in a little bit under my eyes, but I would say no change. This is very, very long wearing for a light coverage foundation. So I'm not going to go on and continue to ramble. I do want to just test this skin tint with some primers because it has oil in it. I want to see how it works with maybe a pore blurring primer, see if it like pills, because a lot of the times oil with silicone primers don't really mesh together. So that's my only question so far. But other than that, like, instant love. Instant. I'm blown away by this foundation, which is really nice because I've really tried to slow down my purchasing, make smarter choices. And when you're purchasing a lot, not everything works out for you. But when you kind of slow down and make more mindful purchases, they tend to, it almost seems like, work out better. Like I'm really trying to weigh my pros and cons on what I should buy. And 9 times out of 10, like I'm actually making the better choice versus something that might not work out for me. So I'm really, really happy with this. Like I said, sign up for their newsletter because I got this 40% off, and $55 is a little bit pricey. Estee Lauder has not let me down yet with their complexion products. Whatever they come out with in the future, I will continue to try because I'm always impressed. And this is different from the Estee Lauder Double Wear Sheer if you have that foundation, because I have talked about that foundation quite a bit on my channel. I do really like it. And I mentioned this in the beginning. It dries down to kind of a powder matte finish. So for me, that is more of a oily skin type preference versus this, where I would say this is more dry skin friendly. This is mature skin friendly. It has not settled into any lines. Not that like, you know, I'm very aware that like I don't suffer too much from lines increasing. I'm just starting to a little bit, but my guess would be that this would be the better way to go over the Double Wear Sheer. It just is, it's really nice, and it's not at all what I was expecting. I really was expecting more of the Kosas face oil, like more of a oil foundation, and it is more of a oil infusion like it says on the bottle. If they didn't say that it had oil in it, I would not have guessed that this had oil, not looking at the ingredients. So overall, just really, really pleased. I'm sure that you're gonna see both the foundation and concealer pop up again in a speed review. I don't want to just continue to ramble on and on. I think I've made my thoughts clear throughout this entire video. So I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Are you interested in this foundation? Are you into Estee Lauder foundations? They're probably like my favorite department store foundation out of Lancome, Clarins, etc. Kind of, I put those in kind of like the department store genre. I think that Estee Lauder is my favorite as far as that category. But let me know your thoughts down below if you plan on picking this up, if it was kind of just on your radar, etc. I hope these swatches were helpful, but this is where I'm going to leave you all. I hope you're having a great one, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.